if this is the case, if Eren and Armin can both find a way to access these pathways, or Armin turns out to be a Reese, and if Isayama was actually referencing these pathways literally in that interview where he said Eren and Armin would take different paths in a sense, quote unquote, then what is going to happen from here? How might Eren and Armin's paths differ, given what we know now? I had said before that I thought Eren would want to wipe out the Marley with the coordinate, while Armin would want to find a more diplomatic solution. But now that all of this has happened, that's not what it feels like is starting to unfold. So I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. Again, we have yet to see Armin's thoughts on all this, and that has me a little worried. Eren doesn't seem to be angry about any of this. He seems disoriented, exhausted, and sad, but he's not angry. Armin not really reacting to any of this. Now that Eren has literally been in an outside Eldian's shoes, now that he's experienced his father's memories, or maybe rather Kruger's memories, Eren in a sense understands this more than anyone else, at least on an emotional level, because he's been there. He's literally been to the past, and Eren has shown to always be concerned for the lives of others. He always wants to save everybody. He's always really sad and regretful when somebody dies. Armin is too, but in a sense, he's a little bit more self-centered if you think about it. Armin really has two things driving him. One is his dream of seeing the ocean, but the other, which I think is a more stronger desire, is the desire to prove his own worth. He's constantly devaluing himself. There's even one point when he's talking about killing himself, even when he sacrificed himself during the confrontation with Bertolt. It struck me that Armin truly believed killing himself to get the Colossal Titan was the most he could offer to humanity. It didn't really seem to occur to him what a huge loss he would be to the Survey Corps because of his strategic skill set. And even though Armin is grown as a character, still, that didn't happen very long ago. Armin's still struggling with his issues of self-worth. So what if this kind of self-loathing, this self-destructive nature kind of bleeds through about his feelings about the Eldians, about his own people, and their place in the world? Armin himself has always felt like a burden, and now it's like his entire society is a burden to the rest of the world, in a sense. So I wonder how he feels about that. Armin's got some pretty deep-seated emotions tied to this stuff. If he does gain access to these pathways, or if he turns out to be a Reese, or Fritz, either way, he would have a lot of power to decide what happens to the Eldians, and if his feelings toward the Eldians, if he feels the same kind of self-loathing that he feels for himself deep down, then that could be really dangerous. Think about it, wouldn't that be what Isayama would do? Because everything has to be as fucked up as possible. And if Levi sacrificed Erwin to save Armin, because, well, I think it was mainly just to stop Erwin's suffering, but also because Armin may be the hope for the future of humanity. If Levi sacrificed Erwin for Armin for that purpose, and then Armin ends up turning around and wanting to destroy the Eldians, that would just be... I can see that happening. That would be so fucked up. These characters are not going to have a happy ending. I mean, we've already been shown that the Eldians pose a great threat to the rest of humanity, and apparently all this stuff about genocide and the Eldians being the only people who can become the Titans, as Kruger states in the chapter, he says that's the truth. Whatever, Kruger. First you say everything's a lie, and now you're saying, oh, but this one thing's true. Well, fuck you, Kruger. You are fucking frustrating. He tells Grisha that in order to save Eldia, he has to use the power of the Progenitor Titan to either lead their army or destroy it, talking about the Titans. Because most people in the outside world want to destroy the Eldians completely, but the Marley want to keep them as weapons, to use as weapons. And that's why they want to get the Progenitor Titan so they can do that, and use it against their other enemies. But of course, it's stated again in this chapter, as it was back during the Crystal Cave sequence, that the Progenitor Titan can be used not only to control the Titans, but also to destroy them all. So theoretically, if they use the Progenitor Titan to destroy all the Titans, then there wouldn't be no reason for the Marley to want to use them as weapons. There'd be no reason for the rest of the world to want to destroy them, theoretically. However, would that really be enough? someone's still gonna have the power of the coordinate. So who's to say they couldn't bring back the Titans whenever they wanted? How would they ensure that the Titans could never come back? We know babies can be born as shifters. Would that stop that from happening as well? Even if the Titans were all destroyed and the Eldians basically turned back into normal human beings, would that really end the stigma against them? Would people believe they were no longer a threat? Would they be welcomed back into the rest of human society? Probably not. And two, we've been shown that Armin does have a little bit of a dark side. There's been a few moments when Armin's been a little bit disturbing. I've really become more and more convinced that Armin may end up being the last one alive at the end of all this. That Armin's the narrator, the 2U in 2,000 years is from him. This is a story that he's telling us, I think. Even if you watch the opening credits, like, you know, we've got that scene of him covered in blood, and in the one candle, the lyrics of the song actually says in that moment that I will make sure your life has meaning, even if I'm the last one standing. It literally says, even if I'm the last one standing, right when it shows Armin. And then that symbolism with the candle, like Armin's totally going to be the last one left alive when all of this is over. And what if Armin ultimately decided that in order to truly save humanity, he himself would have to sacrifice his humanity, and maybe even his own people with it? The theme of sacrificing for the greater good is quite prominent in this story. If you think about it, as fucked up as it is, the logical decision would be to destroy the Eldians to keep the rest of humanity safe, if they really are as dangerous as it sounds. I mean, think about that scene in the opening credits again, where he's covered in blood. The Armin we see looks nothing like the Armin we know now. We know that he's covered in human blood because it's not evaporating, and he's just letting it pour all over his freaking face, like just fucking zen and shit. And then he turns his head down and opens his eyes, and he's got this crazed, blood-hungry look on his face. And I've been waiting to see this scene in the story since I first saw this. But what if it's not a literal image? What if it's symbolic? What if it's meant to symbolize Armin sacrificing his fellow Eldians for the greater good of humanity, and he ends up being the last one left? Kruger said, either lead their army or destroy it. Destroying the army does mean killing Eldians. So, what if that's the path that ends up being taken? There was a theory going around that Armin might wind up being the antagonist. What if that turns out to be true? And he ends up massacring his entire race of people, all these characters that we know, all these people we've been rooting for the whole time. He ends up killing them all for everyone else, everyone on the outside, for the greater good of all humanity. If Armin really is the true hope for all humanity, and not just the Eldians, wouldn't that make the most sense? To destroy the Eldians so they're not a threat anymore? Could that be what Isayama is actually planning to do? What the fuck? No. What am I saying? No, I don't want that to happen. What the fuck? God, I hope I'm not right about this. This is fucked up. Holy shit. Why did I think about this? Somebody please hold my hand. I'm scared. Oh my god. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like, share, comment, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and check out my Patreon if you want to help support this channel. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.